A world built on fantasy.
Most of these people are not ready to be unplugged.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented.
Existence could be beautiful or it could be ugly. But that's on you.
You want to build something.
You're going to build something.
Just need to build on it now.
I mean, look at all these people. They're free because of us. Because of what we did in this room.
G Micro Chains, and welcome everybody to the Linera Buildathon kickoff call. Don't be late, be real time. We're glad that you're here. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Danny Green. I'm here in San Francisco. It is very early in the morning where I am, but wherever you are in the world, I am glad that you're joining us today. I first want to introduce Taka, who is here from Akindo. Taka, how you doing? Thanks so much for joining us here on the call.
Hey, Donnie. Hi, Linera Entertainment. Hi, Linera community. I'm Taka, representing Akindo, head of BD at Akindo. I'm so honored to be a part of this event. Thank you.
Also with us here is Matthew, founder of Linera. Matthew, how you doing?
Good. G Micro Chains, everybody.
And we got James from London. Hi. James, how you doing?
Good, Mike. It's not early here at all, which is great.
No, and it's not early for the people in Japan. I think it's like 10 p.m. So thank you guys for joining us during your evening tonight. Cool. Well, we got a lot to go through today, so we're going to go through, get started here. Feel free to drop questions or comments into the chat, and we'll bring those up as we go. Let's just start with a basic overview. Who is Linera? What is Linera? We're a new layer 1 blockchain. We are currently in testnet. We're actually in the third testnet, or what we call testnet Conway. You can see the timeline right now kind of along the bottom. Linera as a concept was actually created when Matthew, who's here, was at Meta as a researcher and worked on a paper called FastPay, which kind of was the theoretical underpinnings for what later became Linera and actually other layer 1 blockchains as well, right? Sui, Aptos, and Linera have all kind of come out of that original research team that worked at Meta on their blockchain project. The thing that makes Linera different is this concept of microchains. So instead of one monolithic blockchain that is like the finalization layer for all transactions, Linera is split into parallel microchains that can scale infinitely, right? And all of these microchains are working in parallel, and transactions essentially work as cross-chain messages between the microchains. So we're going to go through this in much more detail, but I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a background in history. Let's see what's next. I'll pass it over to Matthew to kind of explain this in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, thanks, Danny, for the introduction. And just for the records, Aptos used some of the things I worked on, but not FastPay.
Not FastPay. Okay.
Yeah. But there are other blockchains out there that are using FastPay these days, actually. Like even like really new ones. So it's pretty exciting to see, like how this research paper kind of like got his moment and really like got this adoption down the road. So what we do at Linera is we is definitely unique and definitely new. We really cooked a new kind of layer 1 for you guys to play with, and I like this picture here to summarize how different we are. And so what's happening in Linera is that we structure the block space in lots of parallel chains that we call micro chains. So that's why we say the micro chain. You know, in the community, that's really the corner piece of the infrastructure, is the idea that we're gonna have lots of parallel chains, and they are going to live in the same set of validators. So that's interesting because that means they are going to have the same level of security, the same level of finality. So there's no need to if you create a block in one of those chains, the block is final. Like the moment you create the block, it's final. There's no need to resettle things later on, and then there's no second like settlement or in a main chain or something like that. So all microchains are their own main chain in a way, and they can talk to each other using cross-chain messages. They can share data. They can subscribe to each other. All those like really interesting primitives we're gonna present a bit later. And so now, what are the benefits of doing that? So first, there's an obvious. I mean, it's on the picture, I guess. An obvious benefit, which is like in Linera, because the users we're gonna put their data in a specific chain that is dedicated to them. So every user in Linera, they have a personal chain. So once you have a personal chain, what's nice is that usually there is only the data you need there. And so what we're going to do, and it's only so much data. So what we're going to do, we're going to replicate your data wherever you are in your clients. And then that means that the rest of for instance, your front end, the web applications, now they have a local replica and they can query it. So they can really access the data, the on-chain data directly in a cluster, which is really unique to Linera. For comparison, and then I'll stop there. The technical it is, but comparison, if you look at a monolithic, a traditional blockchain, you know, like so where you have a single chain of blocks, what's going to happen is that you have those very, very large blocks, because nowadays the blockchains, they really they want to optimize for transactions per second. So they have like really beefy hardware that is like packing blocks with lots of transactions, and that's happening in the network continuously. As a result, if you are a normal client with you can't really have a full node. You can't really be part of the network of traditional blockchains, which means that when you want to read data, you want to know what is your balance on your account, or you want to just start interacting with the network to create a transaction. As a user in traditional blockchains, you have to go through an RPC provider. So that's a big difference. And once you go through an RPC provider, that means that it's not trustless anymore. And we see that it's really in your way in many applications. AI agents come to mind. We love the idea that in Linera we can have our AI agents directly plug into the blockchain, and yet not risk to be hacked by a third party with prompt injections or just tainted data. And what should I say? And in general, the fact that the Linera clients, they are really connected to the network, that opens the door to a lot of different designs that we're gonna see a bit later. So that's it. That's the Linera blockchain in a nutshell. And so what can you use it for? You can use it for a lot of different applications. We are really passionate about DeFi, about prediction markets. And we cooked like this Buildathon for you guys, and with a number of themes, and we hope you're gonna take advantage of the benefits of Linera. So in terms of massive scalability, that should allow you to really scale out your applications and give users predictable performance, normally in particular in terms of latency. I mentioned the ability to integrate AI agents in a much more direct and secure way with Linera applications than usual blockchains. In fact, every Linera application, if you follow the framework, is going to have a GraphQL service that you can turn into an MCP server out of the box. And then the last thing that we like about Linera is, like I said, like the clients are connected, so you can create these real-time applications where the users receive notifications. They can create, so I guess in order they can create tiny blocks to start interacting with an application and send messages to others. in real time. When you receive a message, you receive a real-time notification, and that really allows you to create reactive applications. And also on the infrastructure side, something that's very important for our prediction market, it gives you the ability to create those networks of oracles that are directly plugged onto Linera. So something that maybe we're going to touch a bit later. So that's it. That's the pitch. Welcome everybody again. We're really excited to see what you guys are going to build.
And so specifically, Matthew touched on this before, but what specifically to build? We have focused this Buildathon on these 3 different categories: prediction markets, which really we see as kind of a subset of DeFi in a sense. Games, a very broad topic, and a lot of cool opportunities that you can pursue when thinking about games. And market infrastructure, which we're also including oracles within the concept of market infrastructure. On the Buildathon site, we actually have some sub-bullets to these 3 different categories to give you some ideas of what to focus on. You can submit something outside of these ideas. We're definitely going to be looking at these 3 concepts when we are doing the judging. So those might be prioritized. And if you have something that's kind of slightly outside of these 3 subjects, maybe there's an element of betting that you can add into it, or trading, that kind of makes it feel like it's a little bit more within these 3 subjects. So yeah, that's what really the Buildathon is focused on. I'm going to start addressing some of the questions as they come in, and then also we're going to have hopefully some time at the end to really answer a bunch of questions, specifically about the protocol. So one question here that came up: which wave 2, 3, or later would be a strategic one for our team to join, and what should the main focus be? Well, what should the main focus be? Obviously, whatever you want to build, right? And here are some ideas of categories in which to focus on. And then the strategy of what wave to build, that's an interesting question. Maybe we actually bring that question back as we look at kind of this payment schedule of all the 6 different waves. But I do want to say, join as early as possible with as far as you've gotten along in the project, right? And then the whole point is that you can continue to build on the project and submit again and again and again, right? That's the point of this wave-a-thon, this wave hack, the Buildathon, right, Taka? We want people to continue to build upon their project throughout the whole course of the Buildathon, and you can resubmit each time, right? That's really the goal here. So hopefully you're submitting in wave 1 with as far as you've gotten, and then you can continue to submit every single wave. All right, let's keep going here. So what do you get by joining the Buildathon? We have what we like to say, there are guaranteed rewards if you submit an approved project, really a project that runs on Linera's testnet. The first thing is that we are in testnet. And so when you deploy your app and you are collecting feedback from real users, and you're going to be among the first wave of projects that potentially could launch on mainnet in 2026, right? Being part of a testnet is a great time to start experimenting with a new layer 1 blockchain like ours. So I think there's a real advantage to that. 2, every single person who submits a project that actually runs on Linera's testnet will earn the builder role on Discord, which kind of opens up a private chat channel, and also a limited edition POAP. And we're going to be splitting 500,000 Discord XP among all the winners. So 10x the amount of USDC that's going to be distributed. Direct mentorship from the team here at Linera. You're getting Matthew, who is a founder, and James, who you're going to hear from a bit, our front-end engineer, and a bunch of other people who are going to be there to help answer questions for you along the way. As I mentioned, you're building in waves, right? So you could resubmit multiple times. The top projects are going to get an invitation to present at Demo Day at ETH Denver 2026. You will have to pay for your own travel and lodgings, but we do hope that some of the top teams are able to make it there to present in person to VCs and other people. So a lot of what we call the guaranteed rewards. And here's the timeline for submissions, right? There's 6 waves that take us from yesterday all the way into late January. And the allocation increases in each wave. So we're not saying right now how many winners there are going to be in each wave. There might be one winner. There might be many different winners that are splitting that allocation. And it really will depend on what gets submitted. We're not going to be picking like a certain number of winners in each category. The categories are just a helpful direction for the type of applications that we want built. But we're going to be looking for the best applications that are further along in the process and the most promising. We'll talk about the judging criteria in a second. And all of the winners for each wave are going to split the allocation prize. At the end, if you've submitted in all 6 categories, then you are going to earn a share of this $2,000 bonus, right? All 6 waves. Taka, is there anything else around this kind of wave structure that you want to mention, or things that you've learned from other projects that have done this that might be helpful for people?
Yeah, I mean, you did a great job like explaining our web hack. And then the beauty of a web hack is a progress-based granting. So it's like unlike the hackathon, like the builders, you guys don't need to build like fully, like you don't need to sugarcoat your products and everything at wave 1. You need to submit you can submit whatever you can you build for the wave 1, and then the Linera team will evaluate based on the progress. So it doesn't have to be fully completed, but the actual real legitimate building is what maybe Linera wants to see, I'm sure. So please keep that in mind, and then submit the progress, and then and then aim for the completed the product for around wave 5 and take 6, and then maybe I think that will lead you guys to the Eastern Demo Day.
Great. All right. One last thing I think we want to say before we get into kind of the deep dive of Linera, which is really the heart of this whole presentation today. The judging criteria. So this is the criteria and the percentage breakdown that we're looking for from the applications that get submitted. A working demo and functionality, integration with the Linera stack, creativity and the UX, scalability and use case, and vision and roadmap. What I'll say is in wave 1, right? I would say in wave 1, we're going to be a little more flexible on what does it mean to have a working demo and functionality, right? If you come with a well thought out idea, right, that is really well articulated, including how it's going to be built, but it's not fully built out yet, we'll be pretty flexible about that during wave 1, right? You can really begin from an ideation standpoint as long as you've really thought out the architecture and how you're going to be building it, right? It can't just be a concept. It has to be well thought out from an architecture standpoint. And you had to have started to really dig in to understand the Linera docs to be able to kind of not have a working demo. After that, there has to be a working demo, right? That really runs on Linera's testnet. So that's something I wanted to explicitly say here. And there's some other questions I think that might be helpful here. So yeah, I think that from a judge's perspective, what are the most important things that you look for in wave 1 submission, right? What I would say is that it really is well thought through, right? So it's not necessarily functioning, but you've really done the work to articulate what you're trying to build and how you're going to build it. After that, it's got to work. Okay. Another question that's already come up. Can we only make predictions on cryptocurrency, or can we predict other things as well? Matthew, will you please address this question?
Yeah, everything work, but of course you're gonna have to talk to us a little bit to design the oracles or to put in place a placeholder for your demo.
I mean, we will talk a little bit later, I guess, about how you could query the internet directly. And so, that is, I think what I want to say is, yes, you can predict other things other than cryptocurrency. It's just about how. But the answer is it definitely can be other things other than cryptocurrency. All right. Shoop, I'm going to hold off on your question until we get into the architecture a little bit more. Okay. So I have a pin in your question. We're going to come back to that. What kind of products? Okay, cool. Let's move forward and we'll address everything else later. So James, I'm going to hand it over to you to kind of give us the application development deep dive.
See.
Uh-oh, we lost him. He pressed the wrong button. He meant to press, James meant to press share screen and instead he deleted himself. Okay, he's back.
Yeah, that's not the right button. Now we know.
Nice.
How's this? Sure.
All right.
How's that looking, Danny?
Yeah, I see it there. So you're gonna.
Great. So we've got the slide. Yeah, perfect.
So you want to give just like the walk through this slide, and then we can. You want to share from that slide?
Let's walk through the slide, and then I'll start sharing.
Okay.
You can present it. So I've basically split this up into 4 different parts. The first is the prerequisites, what you'll need to have available in order to get set up and start building Linera applications. Then when you're actually building your Linera applications, there are two different parts to it. Typically, you'll build a backend, which is the on-chain part of your application, where all of the logic runs and all of the trusted work happens. And then there's the front end, which is essentially a web-based interface that you can use, your users can use to interact with the application. And then, courtesy of Matt, quite recently we have a collection of Linera design patterns, which is how we think it's probably best for you to structure your app in order to maximize scalability and flexibility for your users. So let's have a look at that.
Great.
How's the screen sharing looking? There we go. Perfect.
James, if you don't mind to zoom in about 700 times. So
let's see.
Keep going. And then you can also remove the
hide that sidebar.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's readable. Thank you.
Nope. Maybe I can full screen this. Does that work? Yeah. Okay. Nice. And
I just want to say one more thing. Please feel free to continue to leave questions. We are keep taking note of all the questions, and we're going to address them at the end. So
I can't see my screen I can't see the questions while I'm doing this. So if anyone has a particularly pertinent,
you could just lecture away, James.
Yeah, awesome.
Just you can lecture, and then we'll address all the questions later.
So first and foremost, you will probably need some kind of a Unix setup. So if you have a Mac, that's great. We use Macs. We do x86 Macs. We do Apple Silicon Macs. Linux also works totally fine. Windows is currently untested. So if you are a Windows user and you want to build backends for Linera, there are 2 ways that we've had some success with. First of all is the Windows subsystem for Linux, WSL. That seems to work fine, though it's not officially supported. Everyone who's tried it seems like they've had a good time. Or alternatively, there's a service called Gitpod that we used for one of the previous hackathons, which will basically work out of the box as far as we're aware, and give you a Linux environment that you can use to develop. Then you're going to need a Rust toolchain with the WASM32 target. And if you can get that going, you should be pretty good to develop backends. For the front ends, you will need, we use PNPM, but any package manager should work. Currently, we support mostly Chromium and Chromium-based browsers for our front ends. But as long as you have, there we go. You just need to be able to install the Linera client package, and you should be good to go on the front end. And that will work cross-platform as well. So don't worry about any particular platform setup. Okay, so the first thing you probably want to do when you're building a Linera project is set up your Linera backend. And this is the part of the project that is responsible for the core logic of the application. So everything that all of the state and all of the state changes that happen in the backend will be on-chain. They'll be validated by the validators, and they'll be replicated throughout the network. So a backend itself is generally split into a few different parts. You want to, first of all, design, well, we have this tool that you can use to set up the scaffolding. And what that will give you is the ABI definition, which is about what you can send and receive from the application. The state, which is the on-chain state that the validators should be tracking for your application. The contract and the service. Now, the contract is the core part of the application that determines what the state is and how it can change, how users can change the state in response to application requests. Whereas the service is more geared towards the front end. The service, importantly, typically runs mostly on the user's machine. So if you want to do anything front-endy, where the user might want to query the state, that will all go through the service. So for the state, you can use any typical Rust struct. We provide this library called Linera Views. You don't have to use it, but we do strongly recommend it. And what Linera Views will do is keep track of, it's a convenience library you can use to keep track of any updates you make to your state as you're executing, and then atomically save them at the end so long as your query executes successfully. I'm going to skip the ABI because that's pretty obvious. Okay, so the contract is where a lot of the complicated stuff goes. There are two main entities you need to care about for the contract. Your application can respond to operations, or it can respond to messages. Now, operations are on-chain things that get serialized to the chain and then can be used to update the state on the chain. Whereas messages typically go between chains, they're cross-chain messages, and then your application can respond to them by using this callback, execute message, which will explain how the application should update the chain state or any other messages it might want to send, etc. So importantly, all of these things typically get a runtime inside the contract, and it's on the runtime that you'll find function calls to do things like sending messages, or there are other functionalities available there for interacting with the Linera ecosystem from within your contract. The service, on the other hand, is much simpler. You simply have a query. It's a request-response pair. We mostly use GraphQL for our applications. I would suggest you do as well. You don't technically have to, but it will be a lot easier if you do. And all that gets is it will take a query, which is this type that you have, is in the service ABI there, is this type that you accept as a query, and it should return a query response. So that is the core of the backend, really. It's pretty simple. Once you do that, you can deploy it, which we don't have a section on, actually, now I think about it. But there's a command in the Linera command, Linera application publish and create, which will immediately deploy your application to the testnet or any other network you want to deploy to.
Isn't that the next section of the manual? Deploying the application.
It is. I'm blind. Thank you. I could have sworn I saw this earlier. Yeah, there we go. Yes. So this is the way you give it the. So after you'll compile your application using the standard Rust toolchain, compile it to the WASM target, and then you get these two binaries out. You'll get a contract binary, you'll get a service binary for each part of your application, and then you can publish and create it with the initial arguments that you want to give to it as the starting state, or whatever you want to do with those. So then, in order for your users to access the application, you probably want to write a front end.
Before you continue, James, I just want to say, right now, James is going through our developer manual,
yes,
which you can access at linera.dev. right? So I put this little ticker at the bottom of the screen so anybody can read through this in detail. We're going through documents that are totally available for you. So James, please continue.
I'm kind of skimming this to fit in the time, but there's a lot more detail in this manual. We've pretty extensively documented almost everything you can do with Linera, I think. So if you're confused or there's anything that you're missing, please feel free to have a look. So our front ends are web-based applications, and we provide a library called Linera/client that you can interact with as a JavaScript library. And that's a full client that will run in the browser. So it inherits all of the security properties. Again, you won't need any intermediate RPC servers or anything like this. You can trust the client. You can, or your user can trust the client to correctly execute the blocks and verify them as having been cryptographically secure. So we essentially install the client library. If you're using a bundler, please don't bundle the client library; it will break. You just have to make sure that you exclude it from any bundling steps that might happen. We use Vite internally, and this is how you do that for Vite. If you want to use a different bundler, there'll be a different process. Then the application structure for the front end is essentially just an HTML page. Then there's a function call you can use. If you'll need the app ID of your app backend. So that will be returned when you publish the application. You'll get the app backend back from the command line. Then you can embed that in your application, and you can call the application function on the client. That will get you an object that represents the application. When you have that, you can then query it. So you'll see we pass a string here, an arbitrary string, because the application that we use for the demo here uses GraphQL. We accept a GraphQL query, which is a JSON object that looks kind of like this. It's up to you what that query looks like. That will be part of the definition of your service. So you can have any query type you like. And we get back a response, which we respond in this case as JSON, so we parse it as JSON, and then we inspect that object to get the data back out of it. And that's most of what you need to do to build an application, honestly. So on top of that, the only other really important thing to talk about for the front end is that you'll need to respond to notifications. So this is where the real-time part of Linera comes in. Whenever anything happens on a chain, you will receive a notification about it, a chain that you're subscribed to. So in this case, we look for notifications about new blocks, and then we check the local data to see what the new block has done to the application state. And that update count function is here somewhere. Yeah, here. So we just do the little query, and that's not going to go all the way over the network. That will just query the local client. So it's very fast, don't worry about it. And then that way we can use the service to get the current state of the application. And we then reflect that in the UI by updating some HTML element. But I'm sure you want to do something much more sophisticated. Yeah, so there's a callback for that. Every time you get a notification, you can check what's going on with it and react accordingly and get the data from the local node if you want to do anything with the new state. Yeah, that's the front end. So about wallets, we have currently 3 implementations of different signers, we call them, which can be other software wallets or other more complicated APIs. We have a kind of example signer, which is an in-memory private key signer, where you give either a private key, an Ethereum-style private key using ethers, or you can build those from a mnemonic phrase, which is a nice way to store wallets that the users can re-access. We also have some MetaMask support using blind signing. So you can use that if you want to use MetaMask support, if you expect that your users will have MetaMask. or probably the most fully fleshed thing we have today is dynamic. But it's a little bit more complicated to set up. If you do want to use dynamic, please get in touch. But we won't be judging you based on your integration with dynamic. So feel free to use whichever wallet you want to make your application as easy as possible. Okay, so that's kind of the bare bones how to build an application. But the question is, what do you write? What do you want to use these functions to do? And so in here somewhere, here we are. We have a lovely collection of design patterns that we found really useful when building applications. So as Matt was saying earlier, the core concept of Linera over other blockchains is that we support microchains. And each microchain is essentially its own blockchain in terms of Ethereum or something like that, except they're much, much faster to run, right? And in order to get parallelism, what we do is we distribute operations between those blockchains. So the more microchains you can use in your application, typically the faster it will go and the better it will scale with more users. So there are some patterns we use to help us do that. And if you're familiar with kind of distributed systems or concurrent programming, some of these will probably look pretty familiar. So the ideal case is that you only ever have to touch a user chain. So every user that wants to interact with your application will come with at least one chain of their own. And if you can execute only on that user chain, then you know that the amount of resources you'll have to play with will scale beautifully as your number of users increases. Now, this is kind of an idealistic case, right? But it does occur for a surprising number of things because of how the Linera message passing works. So as long as you can, in the first user chain, as long as you know where the second user chain is, you can communicate directly with that chain. Your application will be also running there, and then the user will immediately get a notification because a message has come in for their chain. So you can, without involving anything more complicated, you can already do quite a lot of basic communication patterns. For more complicated things, where you need a single source of truth, and especially an ordering of single sources of truth, you sometimes want what we call a client-server application. So the idea of this architecture is that you have a centralized application chain, and the app chain will be responsible for deciding the official state of the world. So importantly, app chains, the validators will decide which order the messages come in from the user chains, and then the app chain will have some kind of an aggregation function. So examples for this might be, say, a leaderboard or a centralized price for an asset. And if you want to do that, you need to have also some kind of a running block producer, right? That will act as, in the same way that the user's clients do for the user chains, the app chain needs an app block producer. So the app chain, when a message comes in, the block producer will get a notification, as they always do, and then they can choose what the response to that message will look like according to the strictures of the app bytecode. Yes, it's sometimes useful to restrict the block producer to only contain messages and respond to messages, so that there's no other shenanigans going on in the app chain that might influence the outcome. But this is still a verified thing to do, right? Because you, as a user of this app, you can inspect the bytecode of the app chain, and you know that the block producer must be adhering to the rules of the app. And only the things that the app allows will be produced by the block producer. It can also be, even when you have an app chain, it's still very useful to, because of this scaling property, again, that every user comes with an app chain, comes with a chain. It's quite useful to be able to do as much of the work as possible off of the app chain. And this is standard with distributed systems, right? Even if you have a centralized component, if you can distribute as much of the work as possible, then you know that you can scale up, because everyone who wants to interact with this system must come with their own resources that they can use to do so. So this is an example of zero knowledge proofs, right? In this case, the user can actually submit the zero knowledge proof using their personal chain, and then the personal chain sends just a trusted message about the validity of the proof. There's no need to reproduce the proof in order to trust it. And in this case, they're being paid for the proof, right, with some tokens. One more thing that we've seen is quite useful is, I want to call it sort of a lobby pattern, where you have some centralized chain, perhaps, where you are interacting and setting up smaller arenas that users will then interact in. So our main example for this is the chess game, which was built by Niraj, I think, one of the members of our community. And what happens there is that there's a centralized chain that acts as the lobby for the chess games. And once people have found each other on the centralized chain, what they do is they set up a game chain. And this game chain is specific to the specific game of chess that's going to be played. And it has just the two participants, right? They're each allowed to submit blocks, so long as those blocks follow the rules of chess. But they are the only two people who have access to this chain. And once they finish playing, the score from that game is then submitted back up to the tournament chain. So in this way, the tournament chain only has to do the processing for things like leaderboards or the initial communication between users, and all of the actual hard work of running and validating and potentially predicting or scoring chess games, which is always quite complicated, takes place in this temporary game chain. So you get one chain per every two users. So it's the same kind of pattern as the personal chain pattern, except now we have a chain that's shared between different users. Someone was asking about oracles earlier. We actually have, so we do some quite nice things with oracles in that we have, first of all, we don't require RPC providers. So you can guarantee that anything that you do get from your oracle really is the result from your oracle. There's no one in the way who could middleman you. And we then support built-in oracles. So one of the calls you can do on the runtime object that I showed you earlier is you can make an oracle query, which can be something like an HTTP query, for example. I think that's the main one that we support at the moment, but theoretically there could be others. What happens there is that when the validators execute that oracle query, the validators will act as oracles for you. They'll go off and they'll make their query to the oracle. And if the oracle comes back with the value that you said it would come back with, they will sign that response and say, yes, the oracle indeed does respond with this value at this particular point in time. And that will be recorded on the blockchain, and you can then continue to process that on the chain in a verified way. So, for example, I think we were talking about whether you wanted to predict cryptocurrency prices. Yes, you could do that if you can find an oracle on the web somewhere, or you want to build an oracle on the web somewhere that will give you back crypto prices. You are free to do that for your prediction market, but also anything else you want to do, right? You could look at the current temperature in a particular place. You could look at the stock price of a company. You could look at, you could even, if you're feeling brave, you could call out to an LLM and have it do some kind of quantification of sentiment that you return back as the response for your oracle. Yeah, the world is really your oyster in that sense. Okay, that is all of the screen sharing I want to do, Danny.
I wanted to comment on the oracles. They are, oh wow, we're infinitely many now.
Yes, let's not do that. There we go.
And so the diagram mentioned the TE. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. That's I mean the chat. So it's a trusted. It's a hardware framework provided by a number of vendors that allow you to certify that the computation has been done on a particular hardware with a particular software at a given time. And it's actually really nice for oracles, but that's not the only solution. You know, if you are building a demo, you may also prefer to just have different people answer the same questions and vote for it. So the design space of Oracle is very broad. Just wanted to put this out there.
So the TE thing is it's really helpful to extend the trust, right? So by default in Linera, because we execute these Oracle queries for you, what you get back on the chain is the response to the Oracle query. And then Linera will guarantee to you that the response really was this value. But that doesn't tell you anything about the person who gave you that response. That's where the TEEs come in. Because the Oracle could still be lying, right? If you expect that you're trying to bet on the stock price of a company, you have no guarantee by default that the Oracle is going to give you back the real stock price of that company. And so by using a TEE, you can sign the code that the Oracle itself will execute. And that way you know exactly what code the Oracle executed when they made this response for you. So you're then free to, for example, look at the source code of that Oracle and guarantee that it really did read, I don't know, the NASDAQ or whatever it is that you're getting your stock prices from. Yeah,
and of course, I mean, for the Buildathon, I think I'm really curious what people are going to come up, but I mean, it could be a lot of fun to just create prediction markets about like random stuff that are maybe not so serious for a demo.
If you do manage to use a TE, we will be super impressed.
That too.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of questions that we're going to go through, but before we do so, I just want to address a few things myself, and then we're going to have our Q&A session. So first off, something that we encourage everybody to do is to get the developer role in our Discord. We have a private dev chat, but you need the developer role in order to unlock dev chat. The way you do that is by going to guild.xyz/Linera. And then if you have GitHub history and you are able to, you have at least one commit during the last year, you have a GitHub account that's 6 months or older, then you can just claim the developer role directly. If you want to participate in the Buildathon, but you don't have this GitHub history, just let one of the mods know in the Discord and we will manually give you the role. The point of this is just to keep the developer chat really clean and without spam. And so that's why we create this kind of barrier to entry. So this is how you get the developer role. We encourage everybody to do so. And this is the link for the Buildathon on Akindo app. So if you go to linera.io/Buildathon, that will take you to the Akindo app. And that's where you can read all of the details that we've discussed here on the call and submit as well. So that is a key URL for everybody. Okay, it is now time for the Q&A. And so I'm going to go through questions just in the order that we received them. And we'll kind of jump around. So first from Shoop. This is about prediction markets. If each market settles instantly on its own microchain, how does Linera handle latency from external Oracle updates? From external oracles, updates could faster data access give some agents a timing edge.
So the kind of canonical value of your oracle will be the value that the validators see, right? So when you submit it, you will execute the Oracle query locally and get a value back, and then you'll try to certify that value. But if the validators, when they run the query, don't get that value anymore, then you won't there will be no, you won't be able to submit the block. It'll be rejected. So what I would suggest is that you include in your application when you submit a block, I would suggest you also include a value of time as an Oracle query to say that it should execute within this period of time when you think the value will be correct. This is really important for prediction markets, for example.
But
obviously,
yeah, but the thing is, so when the news break, you I'm trying to understand the question actually, because like people who learn that I don't know, a particular election, the result of a particular election before others, they or once the election is settled, they might be able to. I don't know how you can prevent them from putting a bet, and just telling the market what they know. Basically, that's kind of the point of prediction markets. But I'm trying to figure out if there was something else under the question. But
the answer there, I guess, is yes. Right? If you know the future compared to someone else, then that does in fact give you an edge in a prediction market. Yes, and most other markets as well.
All right, let's keep going here. Gunther asks, what security system does Linera use in its projects? I don't understand this question. Maybe you guys do.
It's quite a
okay. Well, I can tell you. Okay, so Linera is designed as a classical proof of stake protocol. So in testnet, the stakes are like we don't bother people with staking and everything because it's in testnet, but it's still a highly redundant Byzantine fault tolerance system, right? So BFT means that we have lots of validators, and you need to take down several of them, before you see anything bad happening. And each of the validator doesn't have the power to modify the data of a microchain and just add tokens or something like that, right? So that's the security model of Linera. It's called Byzantine fault tolerant for the testnet, and then it's going to become more and more permissionless and more and more decentralized over time, and certainly by the time we go mainnet.
Gunther asked another question, kind of from a validator perspective, around running a node. Do you want to just speak real fast about validators?
Me? Yeah, sure. Which developer? Sorry, I missed that. Which developer runs Node? So we same thing, I guess, during the testnet. So we have a limited number of partners that we work with and are running validators for us. What's happening in Linera is as we get more and more traffic on the testnet and then the mainnet, the being a validator is going to be really requiring a team of professionals in potentially quite a big data center, and so it's a bit different from other projects where kind of anybody can come up and try to create a validator node. Although, I mean, if you look at Ethereum, you need to actually stake a lot of ETH to be a validator. So every project has a bit of friction, I guess, before you can be a validator. In our case, so right now it's like the testnet is like what we call permission, that we're really just accepting validators. And then down the road, the idea is that there would be a process, hopefully mostly on chain or entirely on chain, to down the road, to manage the submissions for new validators.
Cool. All right. Another question that came from Oliver Queen, kind of a broad question. What kind of products are the team at Linera really looking for? We've laid out these 3 different categories: prediction markets, games, and kind of market infrastructure, which includes oracles. Matthew, anything else you want to say about kind of what you think Linera is really well designed for?
I mean, lots of things, honestly. Of course, we have some partners in the industry of DePIN, in the DePIN industry, decentralized physical infrastructure networks. I mean, this comes to my mind because every time we interact with the DePIN company, they love the prime model of Linera, because what's happening when you have a physical network, so you have a lot of different devices or things, in the world, and each of them tends to be relatively independent from the others, and so each of them is going to get their own microchain, right, and live their happy life with their reserved block space.
Yep. Yeah, DePIN and IoT for sure kind of makes a lot of sense for Linera. I would also say anything that's AI related, because AI agents can operate independently on their own microchains as well. And as we were discussing before, we kind of bypassed the RPC step of other blockchains, and this allows for higher level of confidence in what the AI is actually producing. And so everything AI related, I think it makes a lot of sense on Linera. And so in this Buildathon, games, market infrastructure, and prediction markets, we really do believe are going to be the kind of lowest hanging fruit opportunities for people to build, and will take advantage of Linera's unique capabilities. All right, keep going. This is a question from Dr. P. who has previously created the Dead Keys game, which was a work in process. So, yes, please resubmit it as part of the Buildathon, having migrated to Conway, adding new levels, leaderboard. This is a bunch of different elements that would be built into what you've previously been working on. So anyone who is previously working on a Linera project and wants to kind of take it to the next level within the Buildathon, we encourage that. So yes, Dr. P, we hope to see it.
To clarify, I think that we're going to be judging the delta right from what's previously been submitted. So yeah, feel free to submit it again, but we'll judge just the new bits. And I think the same with the waves is the idea. We'll judge on each wave, we'll judge the difference from the previous wave.
Okay. To set up client, you need a wallet and signer. This is a query from my contract. Please, James.
Yeah, that's correct. What we call a wallet typically is actually the state of the client. Some blockchains consider the wallet to be what we call the signer, which is the place that holds your private keys. We separate these things because the wallet requires some persistent state for security. But they're both very easy to construct. If you look at the manual, there are copious examples. We have in-code-based examples as well in the Linera protocol. It's usually a one-liner depending on what you want to do. Although, of course, you can make your implementations of these things as complicated as you want to.
Can Linera chain support cross-chain communication with ecosystem like Ethereum or BNB chain?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So you can use the Oracle infrastructure to query anything you want, really, including other blockchains, if that's your cup of tea. We also have Ethereum compatible cryptography on Linera itself.
Next question. Where can I read more about temporary chains with code examples? From Gorbel.
I think we have. Do you remember, Matt, which code example it is?
Yeah. There's the RFQ demo. What we call the RFQ demo. I think that the one that comes to mind is there may be another example in the repository.
I think
I wanted to add links from the design pattern to the examples at some point.
You can also look at the chess game for a really fully fleshed out example if you want something a bit more complete, I think. Because that makes quite heavy use of temporary chains.
Hex or
yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
Hex, the Hex game.
Silly me. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
So that's a demo that we have called Hex, HEX. That's a good example. A question from Shoop, who's been working on a prediction market. So if multiple prediction markets use the same Oracle event across different microchains, how does Linera keep settlement timing consistent so one market doesn't resolve slightly earlier than another?
It doesn't. If you make multiple queries to an Oracle, you will get back multiple results potentially. If you want to make sure that you're using the same result, then you should try to make just one query and then pass the result of that query around on the blockchain.
And that's interesting. I haven't thought too much about this. If you're using several prediction markets that are related to the same event, so perhaps, I don't know. Maybe you'd like them to be on the same microchain as well. I don't know. I need to think about it.
Maybe. I'll reiterate as well the pattern of putting time bounds on the execution of your block to make sure that it executes it either at the time that you want it to execute or not at all, right? It's,
Here's an easy one. When will the on-chain testnet be launched to try out features in Linera?
Okay, we're launched. Yeah.
Right now.
That's an easy one.
We are in testnet 3, version 3. So our testnet is live and active. And so everything we've described here.
Right. It's number 3, and we had a nice timeline earlier in the video with number 1, number 2, number 3 testnets.
Gunther also asked about us creating our own wallet application.
All right. Okay. So yeah. So in the developer manual, we use the word wallet, and we mean developer wallet. So we mean like placeholder that allows you to run Linera applications potentially and produce blocks. And so that means signing blocks with a private key. So I just want to clarify that in the developer manual, when you see wallet, it's actually we're talking about the developer wallet. For actual production wallets, we are in touch with a number of partners, potential partners, but we found out that, for instance, integrating with MetaMask or Dynamic was giving us a lot of the features already, and so Dynamic is an embedded wallet, so it's not a custodial wallet. So down the road, we also want to have a custodial wallet where you so basically people can still manage their keys and own their keys, right? But yeah, so it's not integrated just yet.
And we're at time here, so final question: can I join the Buildathon? Yes.
Yes.
You can join the Buildathon, and we hope that you will. Again, the way to do that is by going to linera.io/Buildathon. That's how you join the Buildathon.
Very Kitchener response. The Buildathon needs you.
Then yes, the Buildathon needs you. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for being here and for this kickoff call. We hope that you learned something. Feel free to go back and watch it again, especially if you didn't catch the beginning. This will be live on YouTube for anybody of the future, and we are available to answer questions in Discord. Taka, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you being here late at night.
Thank you. Yeah.
And Matthew and James, thank you guys so much as well.
Thanks very much. Always a pleasure.
We have a little video to take us out that we just posted yesterday in celebration of the Buildathon. So we hope you enjoy it. Have a great evening. Have a great day. Peace.
Take care, everybody.
Let's go to Linera.
I mean, everything is just too slow, and we need to adapt.
And that's kind of ridiculous, right? We live in a real-time world.
And I think that's the way that we need to move now.